Max, I got to ask you this. Basically, with this identical team and a backup quarterback, Nick Foles, they won a Super Bowl. So now that he's back, what would be deemed a successful season for Carson Wentz?
He's got to win a playoff game. I think people understand that winning a Super Bowl involves a little luck, almost for any team. It's hard to say that the best team always wins the Super Bowl because the sample size is so small. It's the same reason that the NCAA college basketball tournament is so exciting, because we understand there's an element of randomness because it's one and done. Well, that's the football playoffs. That's the NFL playoffs, one and done. And so we understand that there's some luck involved. We also understand, however, that the backup, Nick Foles, didn't win one playoff game. He won 3 on the way to winning their first Super Bowl ever. Carson Wentz, it's not enough in a division that's not very strong, as it turns out, to get to the playoffs. People assume the Eagles are going to be in first place in the NFC East. He has to win a playoff game. Now, he can't play poorly in the next game, but as long as he plays well, if he doesn't have a bad game, as long as he wins a playoff game, I think you could say that was a successful season for Carson Wentz.
I think he has to get to a Super Bowl. I really do. I think this is a situation when you look at Carson Wentz. I mean, remember, we're talking about a guy before he got injured who was probably going to win the league MVP last year. You talked about Nick Foles, who en route won 3 games to get to the Super Bowl and win it. Okay, all these guys have egos, and Carson Wentz sitting back and having to watch Nick Foles have all that success as a backup quarterback and go out there and win the Super Bowl against the New England Patriots. You don't think that rubs him the wrong way? You don't think that eats him up inside? The fact that here it is, my backup has gone out there and brought home the only championship in football for the city of Philadelphia. That man needs to get to a Super Bowl.
Teams almost never make back-to-back Super Bowls.
It's been done. It's been done before. But I think for Carson Wentz to kind of get that monkey off his back as far as Nick Foles winning the Super Bowl, I think that would go a long way for him.
Damien Woody, you're wrong. Here's the deal. I agree with Max. He needs to win a playoff game. Doesn't need to win the Super Bowl. The fact of the matter is, when you look at the NFC conference, if you look at the Los Angeles Rams, widely recognized as a favorite, when you look at the New Orleans Saints and what Drew Brees can bring to the table, if you're looking at the potential of Aaron Rodgers ultimately getting healthy and playing in a postseason, that obviously is a factor as well. Minnesota and their top-rated defense after they got squashed in the NFC Championship game, and they've got a new quarterback and they've got another year in their belt, that experience. I think there are various obstacles that exist within the NFC to allow you to justify the fact that it's a team game. As long as he doesn't play like garbage, it's not on him. But I will say this that's critically important that people recognize, because there's a whole bunch of praise towards Carson Wentz, and I think the brother can play. And I think he's a stud. I'm not taking anything away from him. QBR was up. Touchdowns went from 16 to 33. I get all of that. But there's some points that we need to bring up about Carson Wentz, because I get tired of the pom-poms. All right? Carson Wentz threw for nearly 500 less yards last year than he did the year before. Carson Wentz went from 607 attempts his first year to just 440 his second year. This matters.
They got those running backs.
This matters. That's my point. That's where I'm going. You got Jay Ajayi and Corey Clement. Right. You got Alshon Jeffrey with Nelson Aguilar, who had upgraded because the previous year Nelson Aguilar was garbage.
Couldn't hold the ball.
Couldn't hold the ball. Yeah. Last year he shows up. Not to mention Zach Ertz, even though he didn't have an exceptional year and there were down moments that he had, he's still a reliable tight end, which is why Brent Selleck could retire, to be honest with you. And the Eagles' defense ranked number 1 against the run, formidable in their own right, had injuries to Ronald Darby and others last year before they came on in the latter part of the season and really got themselves going for that playoff run. There are a multitude of things that contributed to the success of the Philadelphia Eagles, so much so that it was proven once Wentz went down, because Nick Foles stepped right in there and was able to guide them to a Super Bowl championship. So when we talk about putting all the pressure on Carson Wentz, it's not only that I disagree because, again, there were other individuals that produced around him. You could also make an argument that, oh, by the way, his percentages went from completing 62% of his passes to 60% of his passes. This is a guy that can play. There is no doubt about that. But it's not like he has officially arrived. He does have some things to prove. It's just not a Super Bowl championship.
Look, I agree with the idea that he has that monkey on his back and that he's going to have to win a Super Bowl eventually. But we're to say, like, you know, to legitimize his career as a great quarterback, maybe, considering what Foles did and considering this team is young and should be together for a while. But this season, right now, he needs to get to the Super Bowl or win it this season?
I didn't say win it. I said get there.
I think that's kind of a lofty goal. But, guys, one playoff game? Like, don't you think this team is better than that? That it should be a little more? They went to the Super Bowl last year.
You only need 2 to get to the Super Bowl, and look who you got to run into to get there.
Yeah.
Still.
Look,
Still nothing.
New Orleans was favored by many to win once the playoffs started, and it didn't work out that way. They ran into a buzzsaw. There are buzzsaws in the NFC, as Stephen A. points out, including the Vikings, including the Rams.